Right, good morning and welcome to Elevenses. We're a day late due to a slight technical hitch yesterday with traffic in central London. It took me far longer to get back from trip out than I had anticipated. So we're running a day behind schedule, but next week we'll be back to the standard time of 11 o'clock on Wednesday. So just to remind you, you're watching Elevenses live here. I'm Kevin Williams of Survival Skills Rider Training, and I'll be taking you through the next 20 minutes or so with some news, views, and information generally about motorcycles in the world today. Don't forget, if you've got questions or comments, I'll always happily answer those at the end of the show. And the show will also go up on YouTube later as well. Right, so sit yourself down. We've got nobody watching live at the moment. I'm sure some people will be along later on catch up. Right, okay, so let's kick on then. The first thing I wanted to talk about was bike sales and the bike registrations generally and where they have gone. The thing that I wanted to sort of mention is that the latest November figures are out, and basically what though is not surprising that there's been a bit of a hit from the COVID crisis, as you would kind of expect. The biggest sector which has suffered is actually the touring bikes. They're down a massive 26% on last year's sales. Now, that in itself is perhaps not a huge surprise. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be riding around on a touring bike, if you can't tour, that would kind of put you off buying a new one, wouldn't it? But around about 500 fewer bikes have been sold this year, big touring bikes, than last year. Adventure sports are also down by around about 12%. Now, put that into perspective, though, many more adventure sports bikes are now being sold. So it's basically down to just under 16,000 from just over 18,000. So something over 2,000 bikes less being sold in that category, which is quite a significant number, really. Bike sales overall are down 6.7%. So 89,497 have been sold to the end of November, compared with 95,899 at the same point last year. What props up the numbers is strong sales in the category under 50cc mopeds, which of course can include small scooters, which are up 16%, and the up to 125cc category, which is up just over 9%. And sales there have risen from 32,000 bikes to over 35,000, more than 3,000 extra sales. So that's quite a significant bump. So that's what's holding the motorcycle market together at the moment. Everything else has fallen. In terms of what's sold well, there have been a couple of surprises. The Royal Enfield Twin, the GT650, they sold well over the summer, but steady sellers, not surprisingly, been bikes like the Yamaha NMAX, which is a scooter. One bike missing recently, perhaps again is a sign of people not wanting to invest in a big motorcycle that they can't ride, is the perennial bestseller, the 1250 GS from BMW, which almost always tops the sales charts. It's usually best in class and often the best-selling overall model. But what caught my eye were two other numbers. Now, let me just share the screen again with you. Have a look at that. Highest registering motorcycles within each style. You'll see two bikes there, 24 units of the Soren Light B. You probably never even heard of it. Now, the only reason I've heard of it was because it's an electric motorcycle, and I've been keeping an eye on electric motorcycles. And the Light B is a kind of road legal electric mountain bike trials bike cross. It's billed as a dirt bike, but really, if you actually look at it, you'll see its roots are probably more towards the mountain bike end of the spectrum than it is motorcycle. But it comes with lights and it comes with brakes, which means it can be legally ridden on the road. And at £4,200, it's not going to break the bank. So that's an interesting little machine. And the second one there I wanted to point out is the Keyway Superlight 125. It's the best-selling overall model this month, which is a little bit of a surprise. Now, what is the Keyway Superlight 125? You're probably wondering. Well, it's a custom 125. And probably what's very attractive about it is not just the laid-back riding position, but the overall price. It'll set you back around about £2,100 for the base model. There is a sort of slightly higher spec model at a slightly higher price. Keyway are part of the Qianjiang group, and they are the second largest motorcycle manufacturer in China. Probably mangled the pronunciation there, but they also own Benelli, who are the oldest Italian motorcycle manufacturer. Now, while Keyway are a little bit crude and sort of old school Chinese, a little bit underpowered, the motor itself probably dates from the 70s, if not the 60s. There are Chinese motorcycles which are coming along apace. Now, have a look at this machine here. That is the CFMoto 800 MT. Now, stories and spy shots of this bike have been floating around for quite a while, but it looks like this model is now either the finished product or at least a very late evaluation model. And one of the online blogs has some photos of what they say is the finished bike with wire wheels. The model here is shown with cast wheels, but they look very similar. It's perhaps a hint that the machine will actually be offered in two versions, perhaps a more off-road oriented machine and perhaps a second sort of road aimed primarily at riders who ride on tarmac. That's a tactic that several manufacturers have pulled off successfully, notably Triumph, of course, with their Tigers. Now, CFMoto, one of the bigger Chinese bike manufacturers, and they already make engines and even complete bikes on behalf of KTM. So the 800 MT represents the other end of the deal, as it were, the Chinese end. The motor itself is based on the older 799 parallel twin, which has just been discontinued. It was found in the 790 Adventure and the 790 Duke models. It uses a frame which appears to be largely similar, but the swing arm is different. It also looks as if the engine protection bars will be standard on the bike, something that Chinese manufacturers have already been including on their smaller adventure bikes rather than making them an expensive add-on. And that could account for the mild increase in weight over the KTMs. The aluminium luggage option is apparently just that. You can see pannier racks on it. Well, there are the obligatory boxes and side cases as well for sort of adventure style metal ones. Expect to see the finished product on the market early next year. It'll be interesting to see if it actually arrives in the UK. I will also be interested to see what price it comes in at. One of the problems that the Chinese have at the moment with these link-ups is that they really can't undercut the manufacturer who they're doing the deal with. I mean, if the KTM comes in at 10 grand and the CFMoto came in at sort of like as £7,000 or something, KTM clearly wouldn't be very happy with that. On the other hand, they have to be able to put in a sufficient price differential to draw people's eyes away from the KTM to their own machine. So it'll be interesting to see actually how that one sells. Okay, now, what else have we got to talk about? Well, traffic news. As the COVID-19 restrictions are being eased over the festive season, as I'm sure you know, allowing 3 households to mix between December 23rd and 27th, everybody's expecting heavy traffic on the roads on those 2 dates, 23rd and 27th, as people make the journey back to see friends and family. So to ease the flow of traffic, almost 300 miles worth of roadworks are being lifted ahead of the break. The Department for Transport have announced that they've already finished around 500 miles worth of roadworks for the year. And so that what that will mean is that a total of 778 miles of roadworks should vanish in time for Christmas, which must be a good news. Where roadworks must remain in place, obviously there'll be nobody working there, so the DFT will try to raise those speed limits to 60 miles per hour where it is possible. And that will include key routes such as the M1 and the M6. Something else that the government have taken on board is the possibility of poor weather over the festive season. And what they've done is asked that the councils actually stock up on grit and be ready to put in place decent sort of road gritting strategies. And they've also asked for councils to ensure that bus services run reliably over Christmas in the hope that that will reduce some traffic on the roads. That's the good news. On the other side of the coin, though, of course, Highways England is now running a 12-month trial, which has lowered speed limits to 60 miles an hour on some sections of motorway in England. Now, the reason for this is somewhat different. It's actually to bring down emissions on those roads to legal levels because they are highly trafficked. And the trial is actually on 4 stretches of motorway around Birmingham, Manchester and Sheffield. It's on the M6 junction 6 to 7, which is Witton, M1 34 to 33, which is Rotherham, M602 junctions 1 to 3 up near Eccles, and the M5 junctions 1 to 2 at Oldbury. And the trial will reduce the speed limit 24 hours a day. And Highways England estimates that this 10 mph drop could cut emissions by as much as 17%. Now, this isn't an entirely new idea. In December 2018, 5 stretches of Wales roads had their limits cut to 50 because of high emissions on those stretches. That was the A494 at Deeside, the A483 near Wrexham, the M4 junctions 21 to 22 Port Talbot, 25 to 26 on the M4, which is Newport, and the A470 between Upper Boat and Pontypridd. And basically the trial was successful enough that the new speed limits became permanent in June last year. Of the new restrictions, Transport Minister Ken Skates said of the change, I would hope most motorists would agree that helping save lives is more important than saving a minute or two on the journey. Now, not surprisingly, one insurance company did a canvass of their customers, and they found 1 in 4 thought it wasn't worth the inconvenience. But actually, how much inconvenience do you suffer for going 10 miles an hour more slowly? Well, fairly obviously, if you are traveling faster, you cover the ground more quickly. But research of actual traffic flow shows that you don't actually save very much time. There are 2 reasons for this. The first is that most motorway journeys are actually relatively short, under 50 miles. So you can do the sums yourself. If you are traveling just 10 miles per hour faster and you're traveling under 50 miles, you're only saving a few minutes at best anyway. There's a company called Drive Gain. They produce an iPhone application which monitors your driving and with the aim of helping you save fuel. And they analysed no less than 10,000 journeys, and what they found was that limiting your maximum speed to 60 reduces fuel consumption by 10%, but adds only 2 minutes to the average journey. And what they said was that they found drivers tended to overestimate how much quicker they would arrive when driving faster. And they point out that unless the road is totally clear in front of you, you'll almost certainly encounter other traffic which is driving more slowly. So that'll slow you down. And what happens is that you keep speeding up and slowing down, and that chunks into your fuel consumption. So by easing off a little bit and going at the rate of flow on the road, rather than getting frustrated and trying to get past everything. You'll actually get there pretty much the same time, but you'll save quite a lot of fuel. So yeah, how much is 2 minutes? Well, it's not even enough for a brew before you sit down and join Elevenses, is it? Now, what's frustrating about that story, though, is that in the press it's been conflated with the overall goal of reducing transport emissions in the long term. And one of the claims that was made supporting this particular trial was that the transport sector accounts for 34% of the UK's total carbon emissions. That's what was said. Now, that sounds pretty awful, doesn't it? And it makes you think, oh, blimey, perhaps using my car isn't such a great thing after all. But that is the total from the transport sector, and that includes railway trains, it includes aeroplanes, and it includes one of the dirtiest means of transport around. It includes ships. Transport is the largest producer of emissions in the country, it's true, but have a think about this too. We have a policy in place at the moment to eliminate petrol engine vehicles by 2030. Now, that is 20 years ahead of the aimed time to become a zero carbon country, which is the goal for 2050. So that's 20 years basically for petrol engine vehicles to leave the roads. How many electric vehicles we'll have on the roads by then and how many petrol engine vehicles we'll have, anybody's guess, but it's likely that there won't be many petrol engine vehicles left. So it's hard to see how you can claim that this action now is going to benefit us in 2050. Anyway, hey ho, reducing emissions is good for health for sure, but let's not get those messages confused. Right, okay, so coming towards the end of today's show, I'm going to keep it fairly short and sharp today. Just to let you know that the winter gift voucher offer from Survival Skills is now open. Why can't I get the picture to change? Hang on a minute, because I'm pressing the wrong button. Always helps when I press the correct, no, there it is, the correct button. How does the gift voucher scheme work? Well, basically what you do is you purchase a voucher now and you save a bit of money later. If you buy a £50 voucher, for example, you can use it against a course in 2021 and the voucher will be worth £60. So basically you'll save £10 on the course cost. If you purchase a £100 gift voucher, then I will credit you with £120 against your course cost, so you've saved 20 quid. You can buy more than one, but there is a limited supply, and you can buy them for yourself or you can buy them as a gift for somebody else. So ideal way of giving somebody a Christmas present, something they can look forward to in the new year when we're back out on the road again in the spring. One proviso, the gift vouchers are non-refundable and you can't exchange them for cash. I just better make that clear. All right, okay, that's it for today. As I said, fairly short and sharp show. I'll be back on Sunday. I'll be looking at the Women in Motorcycling exhibition, which is scheduled for early next year. And we'll also be taking a bit of an in-depth look at Camden's plans to charge motorcycle parking at over £6 an hour, and the MAG response from Colin Brown, a very, very reasoned response too, I think. So tune in again on Sunday at 11. Don't forget you can catch up with today's show over on YouTube on my Survival Skills UK channel. Don't forget the UK on the end or you'll get someone showing you how to use a fire stick or something instead. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed the show, you can always pop over to my Coffee page and support me over there. That'll also give you access to my growing back catalogue of Facebook posts. I've actually just finished putting Facebook, the Skills on Saturday, I think it was it Skills on Saturday? I can't remember, but basically half the better biking posts for 2016 are now up to go alongside with the ones from 2014 and 2015, and I'm adding to that selection all the time. So do go over there, have a look, and see what you want to read over there. All right, okay, so thank you very much indeed for tuning in again. I'll be back, as I say, on Sunday with the next show. But for now, you've been watching Kevin Williams with Elevenses Live. I'll see you anon. Bye for now.